This is the Seahawkers Podcast, episode 435. I'm Brandon Schultz of the Military Seahawkers, and I am joined by my good buddy and Montana Seahawker, Adam Emmert.
Hey, man, it's Know Your Rival season. I love Know Your Rival season, which we should just change the name to crap on all the teams that we sports hate season.
Well, and other people like to use another four-letter word in place of no. And that kind of, because it's know your rivals or know the Cardinals.
Yeah. Does it rhyme with catfish?
I think it perfectly rhymes with that, as a matter of fact.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to double check because it feels right. Yeah.
I thought you weren't supposed to rhyme the same word with the actual word. Doesn't that go against actual rhyming standards?
Yeah, just lucky guess. Just nailed it. Yeah.
See, here I was trying to be, under the radar with it, let people come up with it themselves. And no, you just got to spit it right out.
Hey, man, sometimes you just got to spit it out, I hate the freaking Cardinals, and I wanted to put that out there. And now in the pantheon of sports hate, there's other things I hate more. But, man, I hate them, and I think that's the team, yeah? Is that what we're doing today? The stupid Cardinals?
Stupid Cardinals. And
okay.
I maybe it's because we're starting off a little bit easy because, it's easy to hate the Cardinals, but you don't have to hate them like real hard because a lot of what Cardinals fans have to go through, it's like brought upon themselves because I think about the fact that they've had to deal with the Bidwell family as their owners for the entire lifetime of the organization since 1932. And of those 90 plus years, they've had 22 winning seasons. That Cardinals fans have it pretty rough. And so as much as I hate the Cardinals, I do have a little sympathy.
No, I don't. I mean, just poor choices on their part do not constitute an emergency or sympathy on mine. Like, no, thank you.
There are 31 other teams that you could choose to be a fan of, right?
Sure. Now there's even one in Vegas that's close to Phoenix. So if proximity is the thing, there you go. Like you could do that. Not that that's a huge upgrade, but I mean, at least you wouldn't be a Cardinals fan or claim to be. Yeah, it's interesting, man. This is scheduling the Cardinals here first out of the gate to do our Know Your Rivals segment here. It's a little like scheduling like McNeese State for your first game in college, right? Instead of bringing in Alabama.
It's an easy win.
Yeah.
Well, and you look back at the 2023 season for the Cardinals, they finished last place in the NFC West with a record of 4-13, only scored 330 points, which was good for 24th in the NFL, allowed 455 points, which was 31st in the league. So the second worst defense in the NFL. And it was bad for them.
Jonathan Gannon's first season as head coach there. And while the record was, only 4 wins, it did seem as if they were more competitive and played harder as a unit in an entire team under Gannon than they had under previous regimes. And it made me wonder if that's a step in the right direction. And we're going to talk about a bunch of their moves this year and the things that they have going on. And there's some of the things that they did that I like. And what I mean by that is if I were a fan of that team, I wouldn't like it because it's a terrible move. But as a Seahawks fan, I like that they did that. And then a bunch of the things that they did the opposite, right? Things that I didn't like as a Seahawks fan. But, if I had been a football analysis for their team, then I would like those things. So I don't know where you want to start.
Let's start off with the wins and losses part of it, because I think that is kind of a common refrain among other people who have watched the Cardinals, but also it is the thing that Cardinals fans latch onto. Not only did they play teams harder, you know those 4 wins that they got last year, Adam?
Oh, yeah.
3 of their 4 wins came against playoff teams. Week 3 against the Cowboys, Week 13 against the Steelers, Week 17 over the Eagles, 3 playoff teams, 3 of those wins of those 4. Yeah, those weren't just layup gimme wins.
No, those were against the absolute, without a question, worst playoff teams in the playoff bracket this last go around. Steelers got smoked. They were no good, had no quarterback play. The Eagles were a dysfunctional mess and got blowed out in their one playoff game. And then sorry, I was choking on that loss. The Cowboys choked again against the Packers, and that was fun to watch too. So those are monumental wins, Brandon, and I think that's something you can really hang your hat on.
I can't bang on them too hard about the Pittsburgh Steelers win, because the Seahawks did get hammered by the Steelers late in the season. And that was also with Mitch Trubisky at quarterback when they just ran around on our throat for the whole game. So why don't we just not talk about that one? Because I don't want to go back there. Seahawks did, however, beat the Eagles as part of that late season slide that they had. And then, the Cowboys are the Cowboys.
And God, they should have had that Cowboys game. Like, they were right there for that one. So, but then again, I'm not sitting here saying that I know for sure the Seahawks are going to be great next year, like a lot of the Cardinals fans are talking about their team. And look, I understand, like, they haven't had hope for a long time. So maybe with the whole new regime and everything, like, this is where they can put that misguided hope into their fandom. But it doesn't look good to me.
Where does that hope come from, though?
Delusion.
Because did they actually improve this offseason? And I know we can look at our team and say, yeah, some of the moves that they made. I mean, the biggest move, I think, for the Seahawks was getting a new head coach this offseason. But for the Cardinals, I look at the moves that they've made and I wonder, yes, they made moves, but were they moves that are going to actually improve the Cardinals team?
Dude, I don't know if you noticed, but they picked up Evan Brown. And that's going to be a game changer for them on the offensive line. They will be able to pencil in delightfully average center play week in and week out. That's what they did there. They're going to the Super Bowl.
I don't even know if Evan Brown is the starter on this Cardinals offensive line.
Well, there's a lot of hard telling not knowing with this offensive line. There's a lot of moving pieces. Sounds like their high draft pick from a couple years ago or 2 years ago, Paris Johnson, is going to be moving over to left tackle. And I mean, that's why you draft the guy, right?
Yeah.
And we talk about things that I don't like as a Seahawks fan. That's one of them, is that they went out and they drafted put high draft capital into one of the most important positions on the field on the offensive line.
Paris Johnson over on the left side. That sounds like it's going to be the way things go, because they did lose DJ Humphries this offseason, because with Paris moving over to the left side, then they signed Jonah Williams, who at the time it sounded like they were signing Jonah Williams because he wanted to play left tackle in Cincinnati. They've got one, and seemingly he would come to the Cardinals and then take over on that left side. But no, they're actually moving Paris Johnson to the left side. And from the sounds of things, that he's going to be that right tackle.
There you go. And then, we mentioned the Evan Brown acquisition. And to be honest,
they have him penciled in
head,
at left guard, I think,
okay.
With Isaiah Adams, who they drafted in the third round, potentially challenging him.
Yeah, one of their quadrillion draft picks this year. That was one of the maddening things watching the draft this year, Brandon, was, and next on the clock is the Arizona Cardinals. You're like, what, again?
Again?
Yeah. There's another thing that I don't like as a Seahawks fan is Austin Fort seemed to get the concept of get rid of these underperforming veterans that I knew and loved that played on the Arizona Cardinals, catapult them, and then parlay their draft picks into a ton of draft picks and really try to build their roster that way.
He worries me a little bit because since Steve Keim was there, and yes, I don't know how he hung.
That guy.
I miss him too. Like he got him to the Super Bowl the one time with Kurt Warner at quarterback, and it was like he had a free pass to do whatever damage he wanted to the team, and they would find a way to back him up. He leaves. They have interim general managers for a couple of years before they get Austin Fort. And now it seems like maybe they have somebody who isn't a dumpster fire.
That's true. I also think that he may have already sealed his own fate as a GM, even though it's been very short in his tenure here. This is one of the things I love as a Seahawks fan that the Cardinals did. They stuck with Kyler Murray.
They did.
And they had high draft picks the last 2 years. They could have gone and gotten a quarterback. Now, this year, I think there was a handful of guys that they could have chosen from and been an upgrade. And they could have traded Kyler. And even if they have to eat some dead cap, who gives a crap? Are you competing this year for a deep playoff run? There's no way. There's no way. So I can't believe that they stuck with Kyler Murray going forward here.
Cardinals fans are still on this hype train around Kyler. Like, he is the franchise quarterback of this team. And I don't quite get it. Like, I know the talent is there.
I mean, to a degree.
Yeah.
Look, if you like a guy who's great at dinking and dunking and then scrambling around and getting hurt, then Kyler Murray's your guy. He's not a winning quarterback. And I don't think that he's going to be. The highs, I'm not saying he's a dumpster fire either. Like, if we were to rank out quarterbacks, I'm guessing he'd fall somewhere between 19 and 22, like somewhere in there. Like, he's not close to the worst quarterback in the league, but he's certainly below average. And I don't give a crap, Cardinal fan, that the offense was one of the tops in the league since Kyler came back last year in terms of yards. First, yards don't matter. Get that through your head. And second, that's because nobody cared when they played the Cardinals. Nobody cared. And so they got everybody's C effort. Look, I think it's almost derelict on duty that they didn't trade away Kyler, eat some of that cap space. And don't tell me that he was untradeable. There's no way that he was untradeable. If the Broncos could jettison Russ like they did last year, they could have jettisoned Kyler Murray at a lesser number. And what, judging by the market, probably would have got a fourth. Like, you know, if Justin Fields is worth a sixth in a bag of footballs, like, Kyler's
all the quarterbacks that were moved in this offseason, they weren't starting caliber quarterbacks, whereas you make that argument with Kyler that he is a legitimate starter.
He's a legitimate starter, just one of the worst ones.
Sure.
And I don't know, man. I can't believe that that's the way that they went, but I'm happy for it. But good news for Cardinals fan, though, is that if something were to happen to Kyler or his play were to slump or anything like that, they at least have the future of backup in Desmond Ridder. I mean, that dude's a baller.
That was one of the weirdest trades of the entire offseason, because I think that was the trade that really started the dominoes falling on all of those 2022 and 21 quarterbacks who ended up changing teams. It was that trade of Rondale Moore, who was a starting caliber receiver on their team, and maybe they didn't need him because they had Michael Wilson emerge last year, a pretty good draft pick out of the third round. They were planning on taking a receiver in the draft. So they felt like they could lose Rondale Moore and pick up a backup in Desmond Ridder. But part of me doesn't blame him either, because of the injury history that Kyler Murray has dealt with over his entire career.
Between the injury history and the maybe lack of preparation history that he has shown throughout his career, so much so to where the Cardinals had to write that into his contract, that he had to put down the video game controller and, I don't know, study football for his job. You combine all those things, make me concerned. But, getting back to one of the things that I don't like as a Seahawks fan is they did use that draft pick this year and go out and get Marvin Harrison Jr. Is it a slam dunk that he's a great receiver? No. Is it pretty likely that he's going to be a damn good receiver? Yeah.
But it's that one pick that brings me to some of the delusion that I've been hearing among Cardinals fans. I heard one Cardinals podcast that broke down and compared every position group within the NFC West and tried to rank the Cardinals versus the Seahawks, Rams, and 49ers. And even though they have Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson, and Zay Jones as their top trio of receivers, and maybe they were trying to throw in all pass catchers and put Trey McBride in there because he's a pretty talented tight end. He had a really solid, he had a really solid year last year, that they were trying to then put their own receiving core. Like, they were trying to make a case, and I think they settled for having them second among the division, giving the Seahawks the actual best group of receivers in the division.
The Cardinals have to be last in that group. I mean, at least at this point, that's how it appears.
Oh yeah,
I do like Zay.
Every team in the NFC West for receiving core has 2 proven wide receivers as starters, and
the Niners have 1, and he's more of a running back than a receiver.
Okay.
Look, I love Debo. I think he's a hell of a football player, but Ayuk, I think, is one of the most unbelievably overrated wide receivers in the entire game. If I'm the Niners, there's no way I pay that dude what they're talking about paying him. No freaking way. You could get another Juwan Jennings type to come in and do what Ayuk did in that system with the way they play. I think Kittle's taken a ton of steps.
And they drafted Pearsall.
Yeah. Okay, fine. I mean, he might be good. He might not be good. There's a lot of hard telling, not knowing there.
Oh yeah.
And I think Kittle has taken a couple steps back. I think the way that he plays the game and the way that his body is, it's a little like Gronk. You could see the deterioration over time with that there. So, I mean, of all the receiving groups in the NFC West that I think the Cardinals could say that their group competes with, I'd say it's the Niners.
That could be. I wish I actually wrote down which one they decided they were ultimately better. Well, it could have been both the Niners and the Rams then, because
there's no way
I could see them making the case that, well, the Rams just have their 2 top guys. They don't have the depth that the Cardinals do. You know what? I want to say that was the argument.
Well, that would be a bad one, because those 2 top guys are really freaking good.
Yeah.
They're really freaking good. Like, not just pretty good. Like, those guys are A+ players, and the Cardinals have 0 of those.
But they got Chris Moore. They got Chris Moore from Tennessee, Adam. Ooh. That's a great number 4.
Is it? Like, I guess we'll see. We'll see if the great Drew Petzing gets the most out of Mr. Moore from Tennessee. I don't know.
One thing that when we're talking about things that do have me worried in terms of the Cardinals is their run game, because they have one of the most physical running backs with James Conner in the division. And then they go out and they draft Trey Benson in the 3rd round. He was considered, one of the top 5 running backs in the draft class. They got Michael Carter, who they brought in from the Jets. So they have pretty solid depth now at running back.
Don't forget DJ Dallas.
I'm choosing to forget DJ Dallas, because even Cardinals fans put him more as a special teams piece. And I feel like that's accurate.
Interesting. I don't know much about the Benson kid, but I can tell you that James Conner is one of my more favorite backs in the league. Just the problem with him is that it's really difficult for him at this stage of his career to stay on the field for 17 games, especially with his style of play. And that's kind of proven out the last couple of years. It's not a knock on him. It's just, it's tough to do. I don't know that there's a human alive that could play like him and make it 17 games. I think that's why the running back position, you got to have 2 or 3. Is Benson that quality backup? Again, you go back to the hard telling, not knowing. I mean, seeing if these guys can transition from college, it's a lottery pick. It's a scratch-off ticket.
And that's why I think when you look at just the number of draft picks, you have to expect at least a few of these guys are going to hit. Like even the Rams, they've kind of taken that strategy to where they go, well, we don't have a lot of high picks, but we do have a lot of picks. And some of these guys are going to pan out.
Absolutely. And they went that route, and especially defensively. We've spent a lot of time talking about the offensive side of the ball. And I think that's on purpose, right? Because I don't know about you, Brandon, but I'm looking at their defensive personnel and I'm like, there's Budda Baker and who? Like
Sean Murphy-Bunting. They upgraded a corner. They got Sean Murphy-Bunting.
If you think that's an upgrade at corner, then you are a delusional Cardinals fan, because if you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you do not let a 23 future superstar at corner walk out the door. You don't do it. If he's really that good, he wouldn't be out of Tampa. I think that they need to remember that.
Tennessee.
Was he at Tennessee last year?
He was Tennessee last year.
Well, there you go. That's how good he was.
2 teams that wouldn't hold on to him.
Completely forgettable in Tennessee. So, yeah.
Okay, so one thing that they have done is that, well, the secondary never really has been that great. They've got Garrett Williams in at nickel, who they drafted in the 3rd round last year. They brought in Murphy-Bunting. They have Budda Baker, who's actually good. Jalen Thompson is good.
Fine.
So the back end is decent. And then what they've done is they went out and drafted. They got Elijah Jones. They got Jaden Daniels, third rounder and seventh rounder, respectively. They got Taylor Demerson in the fourth round to also help out the secondary. So they did draft heavy in the secondary.
Cool. Sounds like they just got the wrong Jaden Daniels is all.
Jaden Davis. Did I see Daniels?
Yeah, you said Daniels. I don't know. Because it's hard to remember all of the draft picks for the Cardinals this year. Look, it very much is the spray and pray method of drafting here for the Cardinals.
And Max Melton, they got him in the second round.
Cool. Yeah. Just like when you're playing paintball and you throw the hopper full of like 300 paintballs and you're not out there precision shooting and trying to snipe people. You're just spraying and praying, baby. That's exactly what Ossenfort did here on the defensive side of the ball.
And to do that in the secondary when really the guys up front, it's a lot of no names in that front seven too. You go down the starting front seven. They drafted Darius Robinson in the first round. They're expecting him to play defensive end. Bilal Nichols at nose, Justin Jones at defensive tackle, Zaven Collins, who has been a project ever since he was drafted in the first round in 2021, Kaiser White at the other inside linebacker spot, along with Chris Barnes, and you got BJ Ojolari on the opposite end of the pass rushing side of the defense.
And don't forget the great LJ Collier is still there.
Yeah, he's still there.
Yeah. Still there. Hey, look, I do like Kaiser White. Like, I think he's a pretty good inside linebacker. I mean, not a world beater, but a guy who can play. And I think what they're banking on is the idea that Jonathan Gannon, being a defensive guy, can bring in all this young talent, guys that fit his scheme, and he can take and build them up into real legitimate players. And, it's a gamble, but again, you're not going to get a bunch of high quality free agents to go to Arizona. Like, it's never going to happen. You're going to have to build it through the draft. And that's their strategy. We'll see if Gannon can pull it off. I think at the end of the day, it is going to come down to that fateful decision to not move off of Kyler. But I mean, they could be interesting this year. We'll say that.
And I recognize that there are some parallels with our Seahawks and expecting a lot from our head coach to improve the defense. But I recognize a lot more talent on the Seahawks defense than I recognize talent within the Cardinals defense. Like, as much as Cardinals fans want to bang the table and say, well, Boye Mafe made this big jump for the Seahawks from year 1 to year 2. And so BJ Ojolari, that's what we're going to see from him. We'll see that Boye Mafe jump. That doesn't always happen.
Sure. I mean, it's certainly possible. It's certainly possible that he doesn't. And if I'm going to go back through Cardinals history, more times than not, those dudes don't. Like, it's just a puddle of failure down in the desert. And, they go year after year scraping the bottom of the barrel. So good for them. I mean, they can keep plugging away at it, see if they can try to get into the big boys club here and compete for the division title. But I don't think this year they're going to be anywhere close to that. And I think they're a solid fourth in this division. And not that that's a hot take or anything.
It's not, but at the same time, I see predictions that have the Cardinals making a bit of a jump. And I saw Cardinals fans even reacting to Adam Rank put out his 2024 record predictions. And he had the Cardinals going 6-11. And they took a big exception to the possibility that they could actually improve by 2 games and still not be, their issue was with some of the teams that they had losses predicted to, for example. So
wait a second. They must have been angry that they had him winning too many games. No. And that they wouldn't get the draft pick they were expecting. That's why they were angry. Yeah. They
were actually excited about the start because they do have a really difficult start to their 2024 season. They have Buffalo, Rams, Lions, and then Commanders. But, those first 3 games where they're away at the Bills and then 2 home games against the Rams and Lions, that's a pretty tough start. But, the predictions had them actually beating the Lions. So they're happy with that 2-2 start.
Why on earth would that prediction have them beating the Lions?
I don't know. That's why.
Yeah. Look, I do understand that traditionally the Cardinals do have hot starts and then totally fizzle out and crap the bed later in the year. So maybe that's where that's coming from.
Which is weird because Adam Rank did not have that happening to the Cardinals. He actually has them finishing stronger and starting off slower. He has them starting off as a 2-10 team. No, 2-8. So 2 wins over the first 10 games.
That feels right. I just don't think one of them is going to be against the Lions.
So the second 4 games at the Niners, at the Packers, home against the Chargers, and then at the Dolphins.
There's no wins there.
No, and that's what Adam Rank projected to.
Yeah.
But then the next 4, it's home against the Bears, home against the Jets, bye week, at the Seahawks, at the Vikings.
Bears game will be competitive. They'll lose to the Jets if Aaron Rodgers is still upright by then. They'll play us tough, but we'll win. And the Vikings, you can sell me on about anything for the Vikings this year. I do think top to bottom, their roster is pretty decent. Whether McCarthy can come in and be that guy right out the gate, I think he's got a shot. But if they're still riding Sam Darnold by then, it could be a little ugly. I don't know. But I do like the receiving core a ton, so who knows? But I could see him maybe getting one out of that.
Well, Adam Rank did give them 1 out of those 4, and Cardinals fans were ecstatic that win was against the Seahawks because it was on the road against Seattle, but losses to all 3 other teams, the Vikings, Bears, and Jets. And especially what ruffled their feathers were the losses to the rookie quarterbacks in the Vikings and the Bears.
So a couple things there. Number one, I am very much looking forward to Mike McDonald coming in and breaking the streak over the years of just stupid losses to the Cardinals for no reasons.
Yeah.
I'm sick and tired of that crap. So they're not going to beat us. And then secondly, I have a question for you. Which fan base is more overhyped and delusional? The Chicago Bears or the Arizona Cardinals?
Oh, the Bears by far. Because it's not just the fan base for the Bears. It's also, I feel like the betting market is on board with the Bears being a playoff team for no reason.
Yeah. I mean, did the Packers and Lions forget how to play football? Because that's the only way.
And those are 2 really tough teams that are going to be able to put a lot of other teams away. And you've got a rookie quarterback like that. It doesn't make sense to me.
And you know that the Cowboys will stack their regular season wins again this year and wrap up playoff position. I think that the Eagles probably will too. They see that just seems to be kind of their thing. I could easily see 2 teams come out of the NFC West. There's no way that 3 teams come out of the NFC North. There's just not.
I think it's this worst to first mentality that people have locked in every year. There is going to be a team that goes from worst to first in the division.
Sure.
And so Cardinals are a candidate for that. The Bears are a candidate for that. I feel like the most likely one, though, would be the Commanders.
Who was worse than the NFC South last year?
Was it the Panthers?
Falcons? Panthers. It was the Panthers.
Yeah.
That if you're to choose a team to go worst to first, they are the most likely to go from worst to first. And you can tell by saying that I don't necessarily think that the Panthers are going to be good or anything like that, because I couldn't even tell you if they were the worst in their division last year. But even bring in former Seahawks coach Dave Callouts, I don't know that that's a big deal. But you can't take a team to go worst to first when they play in a really freaking good division. The Panthers play in a craptastic division. The NFC South is poor. So they have an actual legit chance to do it. I'm not a Vegas odds maker or anything like that, but there is precisely a 0% chance that the Bears or the Cardinals go worst to first this year. 0%.
It feels very unlikely. It's statistically, you would have to say there might be a chance, but it is a very slim one.
Just like Jim Carrey getting with the main female lead from Dumb and Dumber. Like, statistically, you're saying there's a chance.
All right. So through 12 games, the Cardinals are 3-9. And Adam Rank has them finishing the season strong. 3 out of the next 5 games wins. And that is the final 5 being home against the Seahawks, home against the Patriots, away against the Panthers and Rams, and then closing out the season at home against the stupid 49ers. 3-5 with wins, sweeping the Seahawks. 2 out of the...
Sorry.
And then wins against the Patriots and Panthers, which I could actually see wins against those 2 teams. And then closing with losses against the Rams and 49ers.
There's no way they sweep the Seahawks. Like, that's not happening. And then secondly, I think if you're going to take one of the NFC West teams that they play going down the stretch and pencil them in for a win, my money at that time in the season towards the end of the year would be on the Rams. I think that the idea that Matt Stafford puts back-to-back healthy seasons together and makes it through an entire year. I mean, again, like the what's more likely game. God, that feels incredibly unlikely. So they could be going up a Carson Wentz-led LA Rams squad, and not to mention they're still Aaron Donald-less. So there's that too.
Yeah. Depending on where the Niners are, it could be Josh Dobbs in at quarterback for that Week 18 game.
But they're not gonna beat the Niners if Dobbs is in there, because that'll be the Pasternaut revenge game.
The Josh Dobbs revenge game. Yeah. He strikes me as a guy who leans on revenge as a way to motivate himself.
He's a very salty dude, no doubt about it. Yeah.
So that is Adam Rank's look at the Cardinals' record prediction. Has them going 6-11 with 2 wins, sweeping the Seahawks, but not beating any other team in the NFC West.
Okay. See, not all Adams are alike, you know? Like, he's got some issues with his little predictions there.
Like, he would actually have a pretty decent Cardinals prediction, even if he only gave the Seahawks 1 win.
Yeah, the traditional annual 1 stupid loss to the Cards for no reason. Okay.
Like, I wouldn't be that mad about that, because historically that is the trend.
I wouldn't call him crazy at that point. Let's put it that way. It's like, all right.
And 5-12 feels about right for the Cardinals' trajectory under their head coach going into his second year with Jonathan Gannon. Yeah, he improves them 1 win. And I just can't really see this late season surge, though, because, again, that's not how Kyler Murray operates. It's generally he comes out of the gate high flying and then slows down toward the second half of the season every single year.
That's right. But Card fan is going to tell you that was a Kingsbury problem, not a Murray problem. And now they have Jonathan Gannon, and they finished with one of the top offenses in the league over the last 8 games when Kyler came back. So look out. I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. is the next, Megatron and Jerry Rice all rolled into one. So we're screwed.
My favorite was the person who went and did a graph and then inserted the release date of Call of Duty into the downward trend of the graph. And it's always right in the middle. It's right in the middle. Call of Duty comes out about November every single year, and right in the middle of that downward trend.
Correlation does not always equal causation, but in this case, yeah, man, that feels totally correct.
Feels totally true. So we're going to go ahead and go with it, I think.
Still with the Cardinals on the bottom of your totem pole for NFC West sports hate? Because I know it is for me.
Yeah, it's just when you have a team and a franchise that consistently loses, it doesn't feel as much of a rivalry. But they are still a rival.
They are.
We need to.
And the main part of their rivalry is that cursed stadium that has taken so many greats from the Seahawks.
We survived last year, though, right?
Yeah.
We broke the streak.
I don't know. Maybe somebody sacrificed a live goat on the field or something and, made it so that we're ready to go. I have no idea.
Our thanks go out to whoever that was. You are a hero for our franchise.
Absolutely. Thank you for your
service. Never again do we have to worry about that deplorable field. It's forever been decursed.
All right. Okay. So the Hakra of that stadium has been cleansed.
Yeah, I believe in the thought, the collective thought and power of the Hakra, if you want to refer to it as that, as long as we all think positively that the curse has been lifted, then we'll prevail.
All right. I like where your head's at on this one. So we sweep the Cardinals. They finish with 4 wins. They get that, extra high draft pick that they desperately need. Let's hope that they still stick with Kyler Murray at that point. And everything is right in the NFC West as far as who finishes 4th.
It like any lawsuit or anything that Michael Bidwell might be caught up in, like those all go away. So that way he can continue to be the owner and be the worst owner in the league. And that way the Cardinals they just continue to be bad.
I like it.
Because we don't want them to get a new ownership.
No, I am a big fan of the Bidwells. Like they're fantastic people. You should keep them there forever.
Bill, totally deserving of being in the Ring of Honor. Michael just has to do it long enough now so he can get into the Ring of Honor with his pops. He just needs time.
That's right. He just needs time to have a pulse and also be on paper the owner of the Arizona Cardinals, and he'll be right in there.
Ticket to the Ring of Honor every single time in Arizona.
Amazing. Yeah, the accomplishments.
Let's get to the second half of the show.
All right, man.
As we get into our second half of the show, if you're looking for more shows, there's a lot of our new content on the Believe Podcast Network, Adam. If you search for the show For the Hakra, we've got we've separated things out a little bit, and I don't think this actually happened on the last show, and I think we completely forgot to even talk about it. But letting our listeners know here that it used to be you and me on this channel. A lot of the shows that I did on Field Goals, it was separate. And then when Field Goals went away, we kind of brought everybody together on one podcast feed. Believe Network came to us and said, hey, we want some of your Seahawks content. And it made sense that, just some of that Field Goal stuff we would take over to the Believe Podcast Network. And you and I would continue our thing here as we've done since 2013. And but now it does make it so if you're listening on the audio side, you have to go and subscribe to another feed, or alternatively, there's a couple other options. If you want everything in one feed, you can watch at youtube.com/Seahawkers podcast, or if you go to getintheflock.com, all of the audio episodes right there, ad free even, if you want all the shows in your feed, and another way to get them there.
Absolutely. I know some people thought it was confusing when we put all the shows on the one channel, and some people are going to find it confusing now that we've separated it back out for people. But it was just a cool opportunity. We wanted to try it, and all the same great Seahawks content that we've been creating for you guys here over the last couple of years with Clinton and Phil and the Princetonian man. Like it's all there, all enjoyable stuff still, but you can find it all, like Brandon said, in one spot on the YouTube channel as well.
We would appreciate it if you go to the Believe Network, subscribe to the show there, and that way, especially if this is the only way you get the show through audio, just another avenue that we'll have those shows. And the Believe Podcast Network, they've been good to us over the years. Mm-hmm. A lot of interviews. I got to know the folks over there, especially that booked the shows. A lot of the interviews that I'd get on Field Goals would come from their Believe Network hosts. And I'm happy that we're going to be able to continue that there. Pretty cool.
Hey, man, I did want to say, though, like your first half of the show performance.
Yeah.
You did such a great job. You knew all the facts. You answered all the questions. I'm really proud of you.
I appreciate that. I feel like you're referring to me as maybe as someone who's getting up in age in this podcast game.
Wait, I said that in a way. Yeah, I think my tone didn't match what that was supposed to sound like. Your first half performance, Brandon. You answered all the questions like a good boy. You knew all the facts like a good boy. You did so great. Is that more?
Oh, thanks.
Does that feel better? Yeah.
I don't know. I'm going to take your words as complimentary as they sound, as they would be written in the transcript, and not read into it any further.
Yeah. Very perfect.
I kind of want to know, where do we go next with the Know Your Rival? Do we go to the Rams next? Do we go to the Niners next?
I think Niners, you go last only because they did have the best record of everybody, down the stretch there. So yeah, Niners last. And I mean, because we can't lie our way through this, like, politicians. So, we got to give some credit where credit's due. And I mean, they did make the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl.
I mean, that's a fact. I don't like it, but it happened.
Yeah. All right. So you have that to look forward to in terms of the schedule throughout this month. You also, on the Believe Network, I do have an interview with Andy Dooley, who is the in-game host at Lumen Field. So a lot of times you hear and see him down on the field with G. Scott. Really fun interview. Like, he is a real Seahawks fan. He's not just a dude who works for the Seahawks, like legit Seahawks fan, and a really fun interview. He had a new book coming out, and so I got a chance to talk to him. That's going to be coming up closer to when his book releases toward the end of the month. But look for that interview too.
That's cool, man. I'm looking forward to it. I know you said, through text that you had a really good time with that one. So yeah, I imagine it's going to be awesome.
Anything going on in terms of Seahawks news? Because, I mean, there's kind of news about, I don't know, people are making a big deal about the Jeff Bezos thing, him selling off a bunch of his stock. And there's always going to be the rumors that he could buy the Seahawks just because of his proximity. And people with a lot of money like to buy football teams.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great write-off and just something that you have hanging out in your collection, an NFL franchise. So yeah, I could see how Bezos might want to just go that way. If he gets bored one week and he needs something to do, he could just go out and buy the Seahawks, I'm sure.
Well, as long as they're for sale. I mean, that's where a lot of the billionaires run into issues. They can buy anything that they have the money for as long as it's available. But football teams, they only come available every so often. And we don't want the Cardinals to be for sale. I think we established that in the first half.
Oh, yeah. No, that thing's locked up. There's no amount of money in the world. The Bidwells just love that thing too much. And they want to continue on the family legacy of being losers. And I respect that. So, yeah. But in terms of Bezos buying the Seahawks, I don't know. I mean, you've heard a lot of different rumors one way or the other, whether or not, when they have to sell. Is it like tomorrow? Is it 10 years from now? Where's Jody Allen's head at? How the actual language of the, what would it be? The Paul Allen's will. Jeez Louise. Man, having a senior moment. I had one job to get through this podcast without a senior moment. And I just failed.
You could have said estate. You could have said will. Both things would have been correct. And
that's right.
I didn't want to choose your words for you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But I don't know that anybody genuinely knows exactly the time frame of when the Seahawks need to be moved in from this current ownership group. So if you want to say Bezos is coming in, or the medias want to say that, okay, fine. We'll see.
We will. And there's nothing that we're going to be able to do about it either when it comes time for Seahawks fans are going to have zero say in who the owner ultimately is. We just have to cross our fingers and hope that whoever ends up taking over eventually, because it's eventually going to happen.
Yeah.
Hopefully they aren't a Michael Bidwell type owner.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now that I do have control over this. I'm going to start boycotting Amazon and not buying stuff from them. That will completely change the trajectory of Amazon and Jeff Bezos if I personally do that one thing.
Yeah, you've been injecting billions of dollars a year into Amazon just yourself to prop up that company.
Billions with an S. Exactly, buddy.
Why weren't you just putting that money in the bank so you could buy the Seahawks?
Don't bother me with your facts, logic, and reason. I don't know.
We could have been going to all the cool parties, hanging out with our favorite players.
It's true.
And you're focused on tanking Amazon.
I guess I just get fixated on, things that I shouldn't. I'm sorry, man. It's my bad.
All right. Well, if you want to help build up Adam's portfolio once again,
billions and billions,
his $1 billion portfolio, so he can buy the Seahawks. I don't even know if I'm
thousandaire anymore.
Yeah, no, it may not be. But if you want to help get Adam to thousandaire status, you can go to getintheflock.com. You know what? Even if you don't have to donate anymore, if you go to getintheflock.com, you can join. There's a free tier, and that way you get an email as soon as I post the show. You don't have to refresh your podcast app because you'll have the email. But you do have to at least donate something to get the podcast feed so you can get all the episodes and including the ad-free shows. So getintheflock.com. Help support the show. We've got our executive producers, DCH and Has No Clue.
Awesome, folks. Appreciate you guys, as we always do. And if there's no new little flockers next episode, I quit after, 11, 12 years? I'm done. I'm over it.
You're done? Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds like a very real threat and not at all hollow.
Yeah, we've tried carrots. I've tried guilt. And now I'm definitely just dealing in empty threats. So it's great.
Thanks to Cora and Daniel from Ditters Deutschland. They sent a little gift box. They're going to be making their way to the Pacific Northwest coming up this season. And gave them some tips. And Cora and Daniel sent me a little box of German chocolates, which was awesome.
Oh, that is awesome. And look, I hope that their trip out here is amazing for them. And I mean, it's a good time of year. I think it's going to be hard to do it with a frown. Let's put it that way.
No, they're talking about going into California, driving up the coast. So a lot of pretty country going all along the coast up through Oregon. And then, ultimately.
A lot of time on Highway 1. Yeah.
That's the way to do it. Go through the Redwoods.
Heck yeah.
Get the Oregon coast.
Absolutely. Stop at the Goonies house.
Now, they should be within the age range, I think, to know the Goonies. But is the Goonies movie as popular over in Germany as it is here?
Well, 2 weekends ago, we had Gulch Weekend out here with a lot of our friends while we were growing up. And this is the part where I go back to guilt and try to guilt you into coming out next year instead of going on a family vacation you had planned way before then. Kind of like Aaron Rodgers, right? You just skipped mandatory minicamp because he had a trip plan.
Yeah.
But we watched the Goonies.
Or Michael Dixon, who just plans to get married during camp, during OTAs.
Right. Gosh, I mean, this whole team's going to fall apart now. But we watched the Goonies for outdoor campfire cinema, and all the youngins, man, they were into it. They were really excited. So I think that it holds up over age ranges.
There are a lot of movies from that era that do hold up well, especially ones that we've showed our kids. Goonies was one of them. Back to the Future, another one that held up well, and Princess Bride.
Yeah, no, that one's a classic. So, next year, please don't plan your family trip on the same day that we do Gulch Weekend, especially when it's a day that you don't know in advance and you already planned your family trip. Just don't do that again, please. Yeah.
I really tried to not tell you this, that I did that intentionally, but totally intentional.
Were you actually just hanging out with Aaron Rodgers? Is that what was going on?
I hung out with Aaron Rodgers. We planned his potential run. I know he wasn't announced as vice presidential candidate, but there are other options. So we were trying to work out the Aaron Rodgers political strategy just because it seemed fun. And then... because that's how we decide politicians. It's just who might be the most fun as our president.
It's certainly not by having a full brain and words that make sense, because we don't have any of those guys to choose from.
No. Who would be fun? So exactly. Aaron Rodgers could be fun. And then I went to Michael Dixon's wedding. So yeah, we just did that too.
Nice. I was trying to think of a presidential candidate that I would love to see just based on fun. And who was the guy from Idiocracy? Was his character's name? Was it Hector Camacho or something like that?
Yeah, President Camacho.
Cruz. President Camacho. Yeah, put him on the ticket. I don't care who he even chooses as his VP, whether it's Aaron Rodgers or not, but that would be fun too. And I'm voting for that. I want somebody to just shoot ARs into the air in Congress and have a lot of woos when they have speeches.
Okay, well, on that note, and I'm not drawing the parallels to President Camacho with this comment, but Marshawn Lynch is starting up a podcast with the California governor. And I think they're doing a podcast together.
Oh, no. So, be careful, Marshawn. That guy's slimy. Good luck.
But what I'm thinking is that the contrast of Marshawn with the California governor, it makes people, it's like, oh, Marshawn should get into politics. This is his inevitability, and this is him dipping his toe into the water, and people are going to go, hey, I like Marshawn more than this other politician. We need Marshawn Lynch as our future president.
I'll tell you straight up, man. President Beast Mode would be a massive upgrade over the Orange Man or the guy who can't remember anything. He would be a massive, massive upgrade. And even if he took to every press conference with the same strategy that he did Super Bowl week, he would still say more than either of those two blowhards do in any of their press conferences. It'd be perfect.
We wouldn't come down to having arguments about the golf game.
No.
No. That would be an upgrade, I feel like.
Yeah, it would be an upgrade. I'd take a whole press conference from the president of this. Hey, I'm just here so I don't get fined.
And so maybe I gave it up as to who I think Aaron Rodgers should be the VP for.
Dude, that's a tough ticket. President Beast Mode and Aaron Rodgers, I think they've got to fight. I feel like
we could get all sides together on this too. I feel like people who would be averse to one would be maybe more on board with the other and could see the potential compromise.
There you go. It'd be a little like when Montana had a Democratic governor and a Republican lieutenant governor. And, the crazy part about that was catfish ran good.
They figured it out. How about that?
Yeah. Outrageous, I know.
And I want a president who's going to run through a dude's face over and over and over and over again.
Do you think, be honest, if you put Putin in a room or Xi in a room with Joe Biden, Donald Trump, or Marshawn Lynch, which one they would fear the most?
I feel like this is not even a legitimate question.
Exactly, right? Marshawn is easily the most intimidating dude of those three.
Easily.
Yeah.
And he's the only one of the three with a Super Bowl ring.
That's right. And you think that Tucker Carlson was scared interviewing Putin? He'd poop himself interviewing Marshawn Lynch, I think.
I think so, too. I want an intimidating figure on the world stage.
Absolutely.
Marshawn Lynch is the guy.
Yeah. And would the Secret Service get upset if all the constituents threw Skittles at President Beast Mode while he was giving speeches, or would they just kind of accept that as part of his popularity?
The other thing that I like is that the presidential limousine is known as the Beast.
Oh, yeah.
And I could really see Marshawn getting behind the wheel of that thing.
Like the Cal golf cart?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We let him in to the field in Arizona, and he just spins donuts all over the Cardinals field.
Yeah, or the Rose Garden.
In the presidential limousine.
I love it. Yeah. This is great. I think we just solved America.
That would be part of the campaign. They'd go, oh my gosh, Marshawn's awesome. Not only does he have some of the greatest quotes, he also spins donuts on football fields in the presidential limo. We need to get rid of term limits so we can have President Beast Mode for at least 3 terms.
Oh, I think you're underselling Caesar Beast Mode.
On to do better and better at life.
All right, man. My do better this week is unintentionally has to do with state level politics, but I found this to be just so absurd. I couldn't even believe it. This is happened in the state legislature in Vermont, and put aside what party each of these candidates belong to. That's not the point. It's just the behavior here is unfreaking believable. So my do better this week is for Representative Mary Morrissey of the Vermont state legislature. She was caught on camera after doing this many, many times, and they set up a camera underneath a scarf hidden in the little state assembly there. She was caught on camera walking by and pouring water into one of her fellow colleagues' bags over and over again for 5 months, just torturing this poor guy. I don't know what she's doing. How petty can you be? What? He didn't vote for the new culverts over on 5th Street? So you're out there pouring water in his bag every other week? I don't understand this for the life of me. They finally interviewed her. She's 67 years old, by the way. This is the action of a 7-year-old. I don't understand this in any way, shape, or form. But they finally catch her. The only thing that she had to say is, I'm truly ashamed for my actions, and my behavior was disrespectful. No explanation. No, this is how I got to the place where I started fake peeing into this guy's bag just to like torture him for months and months. Now, other dude plays the victim card a little too hard, with the quote, for 5 months, I went through this. It was torment. Come on, dude, you had a wet bag. Like, get over it just a little bit.
And it took him 5 months to set up a camera. Like, it took him that long to actually realize, I should figure out who's doing this.
Somebody needs to fill him in on the phrase, once is a coincidence, twice is a trend, 3 times is a you problem. Like, three times, like, you got to be like, all right, this mother... Catfish! Like, I got to catch whoever this random bag wetter is. Can't have this. So, I don't understand where this comes from. This is just a microcosm of how stupid everything is by our elected officials. So, Mary Morrissey, do better.
The other crazy part of that, too, is that I believe I read in the story about this that the two were childhood friends. And so they've actually known each other for a long time, which, again, it plays into the idea of why would you do that other than if you're just wanting to be a compulsive jerk?
Exactly. Did this other lawmaker, did he hide her bike in the woods or something once when she was a kid? Or like call her a name at the bus stop? Is that what this is all about? I don't know. It's wild. Yeah. Another
wild thing happened here recently. We had Skip Bayless, who was going after basketball player Draymond Green and calling him the dirtiest player in the NBA. And which I think if Skip Bayless comes at you and refers to you as the dirtiest player in NBA history, like you have to have some kind of comeback. Like you have to figure out a way to come back at Skip Bayless, put him in his place, because it's stuff like this. It shouldn't stand. The problem is, much like we know, Skip Bayless in his history on the show with Richard Sherman, the Better at Life segment on the show, it comes from a much similar thing of Skip not really giving any attention to Sherman for being as good as he is. He went on the show at the time that Bayless was on and said, I'm better at life than you. And the problem is that Draymond Green, like, he knows this bit of history because he goes back at Skip Bayless after being called the dirtiest player and says, I'm better than you at life. He totally mixed up the words. Draymond Green, if you're going to go back in history and have this kind of pull, you've got to know it's better at life than you. You mixed it up. You need to do better.
He does. But then also, too, I wonder if he was just afraid of us suing him because that's our like catchphrase segment, right? Like,
right.
Maybe that was what he was
just
doing.
Do better at life. We do leave off the then you part of it, but
that's true. That's true. Yeah. It was so close. So close, Draymond.
So close.
Yeah.
On to Better at Life.
All right, man. My Better at Life than Skip Bayless this week is for Gardner Minshew. Now, I selected both my Do Better and Better at Life a couple weeks ago while we were talking about finally sitting down and doing a show. And I don't know, Brandon, if you've seen the Gardner Minshew media photos that he did this year. Like, they're unbelievable. This guy's a national treasure. I mean, it includes him posing as Uncle Rico in his Raiders outfit. He's doing blue steel in one of them. He's got a couple other amazing poses. Gardner Minshew is the most fun NFL quarterback that we have had in maybe my lifetime. I think, like I said, national treasure. The best backfield in the history of football, just from sheer entertainment, would have been Gardner Minshew and Marshawn Lynch. Like, that would have been amazing, those two goofballs together. If you haven't seen them, check them out, dude. If you don't laugh, you're dead inside. Gardner Minshew, you are better at life than Skip Bayless.
You had me at Uncle Rico. If anybody can pull that off out of all the NFL quarterbacks, it's got to be Gardner Minshew. And how does he not get the starting job just by default? Like, he goes to Indianapolis and then he leads them. He has a Pro Bowl season at quarterback, leads the Colts to a winning season. And then they say, oh, well, thanks, Gardner, but you can go now.
I cannot for the life of me understand why Gardner Minshew has been pigeonholed into bottom tier, like the worst starter in the league or the best backup in the league. Like, that's where everybody views him. He starts out in Jacksonville, where not even Trevor Lawrence can look good consistently, and looked pretty good consistently. Then he ends up with the Eagles and comes in for a game or two and makes MVP Jalen Hurts look disposable, yet they still put Hurts back in. Then he goes to the Colts, takes them to a winning record when they were supposed to be an abject dumpster fire with no defense. And now here he is in Las Vegas, and what, Aiden O'Connell is better than him? Get out of here. Gardner Minshew is better than Kyler Murray. He is better than Kyler Murray. I would take Gardner Minshew over Kyler Murray. He's number 19. Kyler Murray's number 20.
Gardner Minshew is fun. And based on his career trajectory, he'll ultimately be a member of our team because, how can he not be? He went to college in Washington. Yeah. He's only 27. So he's got a lot of time left in his career. Yeah, he'll be on our team eventually.
So I think that Gardner Minshew is like this generation's version of Ryan Fitzpatrick. When the beard retired, I think he tapped Gardner on the shoulder and said, "You carry on the mantle, young man." And he's doing an awesome job doing it.
That parallel is there for sure.
They asked him what he was doing over the summer, Brandon. Yeah. You know what he was doing? It's like, I was living in my van down by the pickleball courts and whooping up on seniors all summer long.
Yeah, doesn't he? I don't believe he has a home that he lives at. Doesn't he live out of his rig?
Yeah, that's his home. How dare you?
Well,
he lives in a van down by wherever he wants to park.
I'm not saying that you are considered homeless if your home is a moving vehicle.
He doesn't live on a foundation, no.
And that's fun. I respect that about him.
I respect everything about Gardner Minshew.
My Better at Life this week is for our Seahawks organization, Adam. They did a commendable thing, and they sent our former quarterback, Russell Wilson, a throwback jersey in the mail. Russell Wilson, he didn't get to wear those beautiful throwbacks, despite him being the poster child, I believe, of whoever mocked up that Photoshop job of him in the throwback style uniform. And for years we said, yes, we want to see Russ in that uniform eventually. He gets jettisoned from the team. The throwbacks come in anyway. And the Seahawks did a nice thing and sent him a jersey. And, this way, Russ can put it on at home. He can remember the good days of his time with the team. And the only thing that was missing from his thank you video was the Go Hawks at the end. And I missed that a little bit. But for the Seahawks organization, sending it to him, better at life than Skip Bayless.
Yeah, what's his catchphrase with the Steelers? I guess I haven't caught it yet. Is it like, let's melt, like with the forges there and everything?
Yeah,
for Steel
let's
City?
forge.
I don't know.
I think let's forge would be a good one.
Let's hammer on it. I don't know. Like, what is it?
I think he should do the blue steel look at the end of every press conference, is just to get away from the catchphrase, but also incorporate a steel reference.
Okay. I mean, he's no Gardner Minshew in that arena, so I don't know.
No.
Serious question. Today, right now, would you take Gardner Minshew or Russell Wilson?
Oh, Gardner Minshew. Yeah.
Okay. All right. No, I was just curious.
It'd be more fun.
Yeah. But this was cool, the jersey, man. And it's the first step of healing the bridge with Russell Wilson so that when he does eventually hang up the cleats, we can get him up into the Ring of Honor. We can get behind him for his Hall of Fame candidacy. And if you're curious as to why we might think that would be the case, we actually put out a YouTube video just a few weeks ago, Brandon, that talked a little bit about Russell Wilson's Hall of Fame credentials or lack thereof, or however you feel about it. Yeah,
we spelled it out pretty well. If you don't think that Russ belongs in the Hall of Fame, that's fine. I do know that I would put in our $12 and above members into our Seahawkers podcast Hall of Fame. And that is the reason why I want to thank everybody at 12 and above. Let's get into it right now.
Keith Ketover, a.k.a. Flocktimus Prime, University of Cybertron, Little Flockers, roll out.
DCH from Sparks, Nevada, the University of Montana Grizzlies.
Gary Blum from Chappaqua, New York, and the University of Pennsylvania, your 2016 Pick'em League champion.
Ron Pepper, UNLV Runnin' Rebels, San Francisco, California.
This is Hawk Van Dyke from the beautiful city of London and the capital of the UK.
Lisa in Seattle.
Samuel Gelber, NoHo, California.
David Van Cleve, Camas, Washington, home of the Papermakers.
Leo Jesse, Luleå, Sweden, from Luleå Eskimos and Renkomo on front.
Paul from San Diego.
Aaron Fisher, coming in from Henderson, Nevada. Go Hawks!
Chris Boucher, a.k.a. the biggest little flocker, South Central Louisiana State University. Go Mud Dogs.
Hey Seahawkers, my name is Garen Taylor. I live in one of the most beautiful places in the world, North Idaho. Hashtag on the Rose. Go Hawks.
You heard from executive producer DCH. Also a big thanks to executive producer Has No Clue. And continuing down the list of $12 supporters and above, starting with Rebecca in Manhattan Beach, California, Christina in Manassas, Virginia, Craig in Camas, Jeremiah in the Bronx, Sven in Berlin, Deutschland, Jonathan in Ridgefield, Tim in Austin, Texas, Kevin in Great Glen, England, Jake in Seattle, Brandon in Huntersville, North Carolina, James in Beaux Arts, Pepper in Greenville, South Carolina, Kevin in Surrey, BC, JC in Horsford, England, Hector in Monroe, Tim in Olympia, Brian in Berlin, Connecticut, Connie in Gothenburg, Sweden, Tracy in Kaneohe, Hawaii, Marvin in Riverdale, Utah, Jeffrey in Kansas City, John W. in New York, Patrick in Sacramento, Bryson in Eltopia, Jeremy in Federal Way, Josh in Candor, New York, Ken in Hutto, Texas, Glenn in Ocoee, Florida, Brian in Omak, Mario in Seattle, Jeff in Bainbridge Island, Cora in Ditters, Deutschland, Dr. G in League City, Texas, Anders in Vila, Denmark, Warren in Dundee, Oregon, Chris in Austin, Norma in the Greater Hawkdom, Amy in Squim, Richard in Killeen, Texas, Joseph in Vancouver, Joshua in the Greater Hawkdom, Rafe in Beaverton, Oregon, Ryan in Salt Lake City, Jamie in Oswestry, England, Marlon in the Greater Hawkdom, Bridget in Redmond, Jason in Panama City, Florida, DJ in Menifee, California, BB in the Greater Hawkdom, Eugene in Henderson, Nevada, Spooty Poo in Olympia, Kayla in Vancouver, Tanner in Kalispell, Montana, Alexander in Oranienburg, Deutschland, Ryan in Fairbanks, Alaska, Sean in Cascade, Iowa via Kalispell, Montana, Gordon in Valdez, Alaska, Jeff in Gilbert, Arizona, Daniel C. in the Greater Hawkdom, Ovary Smasher 69 in Phoenix, RJ in Kellogg, Idaho, Jason in Portland, Oliver in Fort St. John, BC, Ian in Seattle, B-Walls in New York, Jay in Fairbanks, Alaska, Russell in Harpenden, England, Sam in Alamonte Springs, Florida, Nathan in Fife, Chris in Manchester, England, Charles in Bremerton, Mike in Kelowna, BC, Corey in Robertson, Australia, Edward in the Greater Hawkdom, Ken in Stanwood, Stu in Navarra, Florida, Greg in Lake City, Colorado, Marty in Melbourne, Australia, Chris in Fort Wayne, Indiana, Randy in Silverton, Oregon, The Poetrist in Boise, Idaho, RJ in Bucyrus, Kansas, John in Waco, Nebraska, Martin in Ferrum, Denmark, and Jeremiah in the Greater Hawkdom. So a big thanks to all of our supporters at $12 and above. Can't thank you enough for helping get us here through this offseason. And hopefully we're helping you get through the offseason because training camp, just a couple weeks away.
Absolutely, man. You guys are amazing. I just checked, and you have been keeping me just barely 1,000 there. Thank you so much for that. You guys are amazing. And, honestly, Brandon, to finish up this show, I've changed my mind a little bit about the best ticket in the world for this country. I say President Lynch and VP Gardner Minshew 2024.
And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.